Harlan, are you
Hey,
here?
I'm here. I'm here. Wow. It's Emerson, Lake and Palmer Day, if you think about it. Welcome
What?
back, my friends, to the show that never ends.
All right, man. We do the
This
Simon and
oh,
Garfunkel. We do all the different songs. We haven't done any ELP in a while, but yeah, great comment on this,
Oh, I
Harlan.
mean, after yesterday, how can you not say that? You look at it.
it's
I
well,
mean,
it was
actually,
incredible.
if you look, yeah, it was. Yeah. It was just wow, right out of nowhere, and it just powered. Now here's the thing. No need for anybody to go to the fireworks on Friday because you saw them yesterday, especially when you look at the NASDAQ. So, you look at the NASDAQ after yesterday, the last 4 days, you just put on 100 points on the NASDAQ. If that's not a fireworks show, I don't know what is. So, enjoy the show. But just remember, if you go to, I don't know how it works in everybody else's cities, but in my city, one of the county parks have fireworks. And everybody shows up, gets a seat, grabs a lawn chairs, and they watch the show. What happens when the show ends? You got to fight the crowds to get out of the parking lot. So that's probably what's going to happen next. Is
It,
after the show, you're going to have to fight the crowd to get out of the parking lot.
it's
We're
a good analogy there, Harlan. And like I was saying, I was even saying on these 3D printing stocks, did you see the moves in these things yesterday? It kind of felt like in the morning it
Out
was
of out of
upside
control.
capitulation in them, where every short said,
Um,
get me out, and every long said, get me in. And they actually got run over in the afternoon because these things actually pulled back significantly in the afternoon.
yeah, well, wasn't it SSYS really did a big reversal?
Huge.
Off
Yeah.
the highs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, it ran all.
perfect example of what I always talk about. You got to sell your peanuts when the circus is in town. And that's exactly what it was with even DDD. So at least for the day. But I think what you had talked about just before I came on, there's going to be a point in time. That's so true because the farther you keep gapping up and gapping up and gapping up, the more you're setting yourself up for a bigger drop because there's not a lot holding it up. It's just gap, 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 and eventually, those gaps do get filled. You're right. You don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. But, usually it starts with a big bang to the downside. The best thing I can tell you, go look at March and April time frame of this year on a lot of stocks. They were all super, trending higher, looking great. The sun is always brightest at its peak. And then there came a time where, wham, they just smacked the market for a few days. And then all you did is like a dead cat bounce and you put in your first lower high. Right now, we're higher highs and higher lows. But the moment, which is the definition of an uptrend, the moment you get your first lower high, that's when you want to start to
good
pay
point.
attention.
Good point. Rob Hood, the circus is in town in his portfolio here, and he's looking at a couple of these automaker parts. Delphi here has had a nice move. DLPH looks like it's running some resistance here a little bit near the $70 level, Harlan, but would you be tempted to hold out for the old-time high in this one?
No, a lot of times stocks do come back and test highs and they test lows to really see what they're made of. That's you. Sometimes you got to test support. Sometimes you got to test resistance. Right now, I'm looking at Delphi, and resistance is that 71 zone. So support shorter term over the last month or so. 67-ish. So
Major, yep.
there's your range. If you just want to use support and resistance in that time frame, buy support, sell resistance. The issue is if you sell resistance and resistance breaks to the upside, well, then you got to stop out. Just like if you buy support and support breaks, then you got to stop out. So,
what about
um,
Dennis? You see anything at there? 70 made a 69.96 high yesterday. You see a piece kicking around at 70?
yeah, I just see
No,
the
I don't.
spike, the last 2 days.
Okay. And what
So,
about
but
board?
I'm looking. I'm on a daily chart.
Okay, what about Borg Warner here? Whoa, look at this thing, Harlan. You talk about well-defined resistance here. Borg Warner, boy, it's hit this area. Oh, we hit 66.35 yesterday. Multiple highs at the 66.33 and 66.52.50 area. I'd give this like another day or two to get out and break above 66.50, the all-time high, or else may get back some of that profits. It had a nice move up from 63.
What's it simple again?
BWA, Borg Warner. Is that a Michigan
Yeah,
company?
that's it. I always
Michigan
get that
company. I
one
think they
mixed
have
up
the
with
headquarters not too
some
far away from
income
here.
fund.
Okay, BWA.
You know, if it stalls right here, up at a retest of the highs, line up your bottoms from 5 days ago.
Yep, I see that.
Could be a double top.
Yep.
And a double top. Here's another example. Here's an issue that's retesting its highs. The ultimate trade was 3, 4, 5 days ago when it was pulling back off its highs to a support level, which was dang near the 50-day.
Yeah, and if you were
that was
hanging
the good
out,
trade. In the face of a market pullback to a support level, that's for me that would have been my trade. But right now, it's retesting its highs. You got to watch this level here. It looks like it's doing so off of a daily chart. It looks like it's doing so on negative relative strength divergence, negative RS divergence. So, which means that this retest of the highs internally isn't as strong as the initial high from beginning of June.
Here's an interesting
so that's another
one.
thing you want to watch for is negative relative strength divergence, which really tells you underneath the surface it's not as strong as the print and price looks. So, and I do see that showing up a lot.
What about ETFC here? E-Trade Financial. Boy, that's found some resistance too. Harlan, give us your appraisal of that.
Yeah, it's just chopping around 19.5 to 22-ish over the last few months. 3, 4 days ago, there was your trade. It was, it spiked up. A lot of times when these stocks spike, that's exactly what they do. They pull back, and then they make another run. Just think of the bunny hop off of the June lows. You can clearly see it. Spikes up, does a pullback off highs. Spikes up, does a pullback off highs. That's its trend right now. But there is something really good that we should talk about in this chart, and that is go look at the daily chart, March and April, and that'll go right back to what I was talking about, where you have a trend off the February lows on this stock of higher highs and higher lows till gets extended. You get a big slam down, which we did at the end of March. And then all this stock did is do a little snapback rally, dead cat bounce, call it whatever you want. And that was your first lower high. And look what happened. Boom. Whole market did the same thing. So that's what I mean. We don't know when, but the market does give clues and stocks give clues when they're in the process of change in trend. So until we start to see a big slam down like this issue did in March and then a snapback rally that fails, for me, there's really nothing to short. I'm just not seeing the patterns. But if I start seeing stuff like that, like E-Trade back in the month of March, then I'm going to want to start leaning towards the short side. But until that time, it's enjoy the show.
Yeah, it's so hard to be short this market, and they just keep getting run over, and that's the hardest thing here. We got Kevin in the chat, Harlan. He's asking, he's long GILD, which is Gilead. I was looking at some of these biotech stocks, and all of them are starting to show life here again. Biogen broke out yesterday from 320, which had given it some resistance. Celgene made a new high on the move there yesterday. What do you think of GILD, because it broke out there yesterday as well?
Well, I'm not going to complain because, you're right. I mean, these bios are, they're the stocks that everybody loves to hate and hates to love them. And, it's a volatile group. Look at the ultimate time to buy it is when nobody wanted it back in April. And that goes for just about everything in the market. Obviously it's always darkest just before the dawn. This stock's ready to break out of, 4-month base into a new high. So, I mean, if you're there, just enjoy the ride, and you've got some good support above the 50-day. So, as long as it stays above the 50-day, I had nothing bad to say about it. So stocks will fluctuate. They won't, when they do keep going straight up, like you saw the 3D printers, that's the time you want to watch out, because, that's more of a looks climax runish, like you said, short covers and all of that. And, that's the type of stuff you want to be selling. But, something like this, this could be a, fresh breakout. And, for me, given 100 points in the NASDAQ in 4 days, with half of that taking place yesterday, I think I'm just going to sit back and, if this issue for me were to pull back off its highs in a nice, tight, orderly manner, put in a bull channel, if you want to call it that, then I would personally take a look at it. If you're there, great. I got nothing bad to say about it. Trend is your friend, obviously, and it could be a fresh breakout and take off. Same thing with ILMN. Illumina looks the same way.
Harlan, you made a comment here about, I think it's when we were talking about E-Trade, that print in price not as strong as it looks. Could you just elaborate on that comment a little bit?
Well, you got to have an RSI indicator on your charts, and remember,
Okay.
I operate off the daily charts, and with the RS. A lot of times, you'll see issues hit a peak, and the RS will get into the overbought territory, and then what they'll do is, they'll pull back, and they'll make another run, and you want to watch when they retest those highs if the relative strength indicator isn't as high as that initial high that it's pulled back from. That's what we mean as, relative strength divergence. While the stock looks like it's retesting a high or breaking into a new high, the relative strength internally is not confirming that move. We see that. It's just a tool. It's not the end-all, be-all, but it's just another tool that we use to go, okay, is this thing really as strong as the price looks?
Okay, good explanation. How about we have Coach Luck here, BIB, Biogen, we talked about breaking out. Power Shares India portfolio, PIN, PIN. This looks like a little gapper, rounder kind of stock here, kind of thinly traded. But what do you think? This one going back up to those recent highs? We'll see, the recent high of the move was 22.36.
Well, it's one of those ETFs, and you always see the dots on the charts from overnights. So that's why it always looks thin. I see support at 21, and the retest of the highs is resistance. And that's your range. If you're a daily chart follower, here's a stock that's in a clearly defined uptrend above the 50-day moving average that yesterday one could say it broke that pullback off highs to the upside when you line up your peak back at the beginning of June. So I've got nothing bad to say about it. Here's where support is, a little bit over 21 and resistance. So if you're there, here too, enjoy the show. Just pay attention to support. Speaking of that, this issue could come right down to the 50-day average, and its uptrend could still be intact. But of course, if you're buying it right around this 22 and it comes down to the 50-day, you're down dang near 10%. But yet, you'd be down 10% in an issue that's in a clearly defined uptrend. So
Dollar General here, boy, Carl got it going. And then the president of the company stepped down, and that the street really thought that hurts Carl's power here. To what's he trying to force a merger with what's the other dollar?
Wasn't it Family Dollar? Talk Brentster, are you there? What was the rumors back with Carl and Dollar General?
Well, Dollar General, FDO, is that? Yeah, he was trying to force the merger with FDO, and the stock's giving it back here. Both stocks are
both taking it, yeah.
What do you think about this? Are you ready to dip your toe in the water here on this one? You maybe risk down to 50s?
I'm for me, there's no trade. I'm all about chart pattern recognition. I trade what I see, not what I think, hear, or fear. And, when I look at it from that perspective, I'm looking at a really sloppy stock that there's just no clearly defined trend, for me anyway. Only the best and forget the rest, as I say. Here you have a stock that just gapped up really huge, and of course, when a stock gaps up really huge, at the beginning of June, there's going to be profit taken. So, but then now you start to throw in, all this news-driven event stuff, and it just increases the volatility, as you can see, which works for you and against you, depending upon what side you're on. When I see stuff like that, with so many good-looking stocks out there, why do you need to even bother with it?
Yeah, it's trading off
Unless
headlines.
you like playing news events. Yeah, you're trading off the headlines. And, for me, to each their own, but for me, I'm all about chart patterns. And if I don't see a chart pattern, I'm on to the next one. It's like I've always said, if you got to squint to see a chart pattern, it's just not there.
And did you lighten up on anything yesterday? Did you hit any targets on your stocks? Maybe ring the cash register, or are you just trying to move your stops up and maybe get taken out on the downside?
Well, that's about what you want to do when you see runaway markets like the NASDAQ Composite. What I'll do is trail and scale. As they say, you trail your stocks and you scale out. You always do want to, every now and then you got to pay yourself. And the way you pay yourself is, sometimes you sell strengths. I haven't really done much of anything this week. I'm just kind of sitting back, enjoying the show. We are in a pre-holiday trade. I'm sure things are going to start dropping off from here in the world of volume. But, volume may not matter because price pays.
Okay, one final chart here. AstraZeneca, courted by Pfizer. That didn't come to fruition. Came back down. Now you're just having some consolidation between 74 and 76. Dennis, you can comment on this one too. I know you like to, after the rumors and the pullbacks, you like to get in. I'd say for your appetite, Dennis, this thing hasn't pulled back far enough.
Yeah, 70 maybe I would have been interested. I didn't pick it up then, though. Now it's kind of drifting back up here. Like I said, when these rumors, if they don't materialize, the stocks often go back to where they were prior to when the rumors started, which would be back at $63 for the stock. So I'm looking at probably an 11-point risk if a deal doesn't get done for the thing, and I don't know what the potential is. So I'm just not in love with the risk return on it from, an M&A perspective.
And your take, Harlan?
Amen.
Okay.
That's exactly it. It's another one of these headline issues. It's exciting and, and all of that, and everybody likes to have the possibility of owning a stock that gets taken out. But, again, all this headline stuff, you can clearly kind of see it in the charts, back in May, all over the place. And, Dennis is right. If this, typically if a deal falls apart, they come right back down. So why take the risk when you don't need to?
Okay. All right. Harlan Pyan, all about trends here, giving us his take on the market just from the comments in the chat room. I think we even got that from one more here that Harlan's my favorite guest, and he learns more about the markets from anybody, more from you than anybody else. So that's a huge compliment to you, Harlan. Have a good time.
I'm humbled.
Be careful with those fireworks, okay?
Yeah, well, everybody needs to do the same thing. So,
okay.
Anyone who goes on Friday that's listening is probably going to think about this. So you might want to leave about 5 minutes, or once they start the grand finale at a fireworks show, that's your cue to head for the car.
Okay.
At least you get out of there, without
right.
having to fight traffic. So
thank you,
everybody
Harlan.
have a good 4th. Thanks for having me.
Okay.